For a section of the Ontario Line subway, but some community groups claim the transit agency isn't saying how the $11 billion project will impact their neighborhoods. For more on this, we're joined live by Anne-Marie Aikens with Metrolinx. Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I'll start with asking you, can you tell us what those changes are that are being considered at the moment?
Well, they're not major changes. We had promised the local councillor, a few weeks ago, that we would take another look at further protecting the parks and the green space and any of the concerns that the property owners had through the area around Leslieville, Riverside. And we promised that we'd do that. So that's what we've been doing. Of course, you go back and you look at your plans and think, how can we make them even better? And we're also have to keep in mind, we're not just building the Ontario Line. We're building a network of subways and GO Transit expansion that, like we've never seen before. We all have to make sure that we work them together so that they're a seamless, good way to travel through the city of Toronto. So this, the Ontario Line connects with the GO expansion that's underway down at East Harbour. So we looked at them together. They're going to be shifted slightly. We haven't quite finalized the plan, but when we do in a couple of weeks, we're taking that back to the community to tell them about the new ideas that we have. This won't delay the project. It won't hurt their parks and their green space. We know that. So but we need to finalize it and bring it back to them.
Okay, so I know lots of this is still in the works, Anne-Marie, but we're hearing from some residents. There's a rally plan later on today in the East End, but some people are saying, Metrolinx has spent all of this time telling us this is the best plan. So why change course now?
Well, that's part of our work that we do. So you plan a line. You look at the plans that you have, you take those to the community, you listen to their concerns. That's what we've done. We've listened to some of their concerns, and we're going to try and adapt the project. That's a normal process for building major transit lines like this. They're always refined along the way. You shift, that sort of thing. But we want to assure them that this is going to make it better. It won't cause further impacts. We get that, it's major changes throughout their community. This is a very old neighborhood. This rail line's been there forever. It's been there before any houses were even there. So it's quite old. But we're going to protect the things that they love the most. The Jimmy Simpson Community Center, the parks, the other green space and so forth. And we're going to build a terrific transit line that will help keep this city moving.
Okay, so let's talk more about protecting green spaces. You mentioned Jimmy Simpson. That's one concern for folks in that area. Bruce Mackey, also a big concern. Degrassi Street, people who live on that street saying that they're really hoping that these areas will be protected. So can you just clear up any confusion for folks who live in this area who are watching this now? Will those specific areas be protected?
They are going to be protected. Sometimes we need property when you're building a big construction project like this. If you can imagine all of the big cranes, and think about Eglinton. A lot of those big construction equipment needs someplace to store. So sometimes it's temporary property, but that we might need to some of the park to temporarily storage construction material. But for the most part, those parks are going to be protected. It's very difficult to imagine if you've been there. Jimmy Simpson's Community Center is right there, right beside the GO line that goes right by it. So when they think, well, there's no way you could put more trains there. But our engineers are confident they can build within the corridor and still have the Ontario Line and the GO expansion and room for it, and still protect all of those beloved. This is my neighborhood too, so I love these areas. There's Bonjour Brioche is right there. There's I love that place, right? And there's the Mustard Seed housing is right there on the other side across the street. There's really loved places right around there, and we're going to do our very best to keep them and to ensure that they are during construction that they will be able to maintain their businesses and still have access to them. So that's our commitment. And I understand they have a lot of fears, so I get that, because this is my neighborhood too, so I get that. We want to keep it, but we also want transit, so we think we can do both.
Okay, I have to ask you before we leave you, Anne-Marie, this is still in the works, you say. These changes have not yet been finalized. So if this is still in the planning process and then, we're looking at all of these changes, how can the project not be delayed?
Oh, this is a normal thing that we do all the way through. You don't start and here's your perfect plan and then you keep going. These are projects that take a lot of coordination, a lot of planning. It intersects, if you can imagine, with GO Transit. It also intersects with TTC. Our community is very lucky to have terrific access to TTC services, and we want these lines to interconnect with all of those services. So we're constantly refining them and making them better and working with our partners at TTC, at the City of Toronto, and all of the people with GO Transit who are building a massive expansion there. And all of the stations that have to be built, it's a lot of work. So this is a normal part of doing transit building, and we'll come back to the community. We should have a meeting date before the end of, but by Monday, and in a couple of weeks, to be able to bring people together virtually and talk about the plans in much more detail.
Okay.